Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode with the Kitchen Alchemist. Today we are cooking a personal favorite of mine. We are making some Alfredo. We are going to be making our Alfredo with some garlic and some shrimp. We're also going to be pairing that with a nice garlic bread that we're going to do a pretty cool trick with. So as always, let's get our ingredients together and let's get rocking. Starting with Alfredo ingredients. We're going to need 2 cups of heavy cream, room temperature, which is super important, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of white pepper, 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, which is for the cook on our shrimp, another 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter, which is for the cook on our garlic. Speaking of which, we will need a 1/4 cup of chopped garlic. 3/4 to 1 cup of freshly grated Parmesan. Now wait, let's check this product before we get cooking. Did you know that a lot of shredded, sliced, and grated cheeses have an anti-caking agent added to it called cellulose? Not only is it an anti-caking agent, but it makes the cheeses that it's incorporated with extremely hard to melt, which is exactly why that lady just screamed, because not being able to melt cheese is frickin' terrifying. Other than that, the Parmesan cheese melting in our cream is one of our very important thickening agents in this sauce. So best practice here is to get a wedge of Parmesan cheese and shred it yourself. Unmeltable cheese. Yeah. And let's get back to it. 1 pound of raw shrimp, deveined and deshelled and pat dry. If you can keep the shells off to the side, that is great. If you can't, it is not a problem. Later on in the episode, I will be showing you how to make a quick small stock with those shrimp shells and the pasta water. Next, we'll need 8 ounces of fettuccine pasta, which is super important because you want a pasta with a wide surface area so it can get all of that nice, creamy, rich sauce that we're making. Also, fun fact, fettuccine in Italian means little ribbon. And if you look at a pile of cooked fettuccine, that's what it looks like. A 1/4 cup of finely chopped parsley. You can use dried parsley if you want to. I use fresh, finely chopped parsley here because I love the flavor it gives a dish and it's very vivid, so it's great to look at. 4 to 5 tablespoons of pasta water. And now for our garlic bread ingredients. 1 1/4 teaspoon Herbes De Provence, 1 teaspoon paprika, half a teaspoon salt, half a teaspoon white pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder. We want all those seasonings in one bowl because we are going to combine that with 4 tablespoons unsalted butter. A loaf of bread, pretty crucial when making garlic bread. You don't have to have this kind of bread, but bread is needed. You're going to want to cut that bread up. Now, if you're going to cook the bread in the oven, which is not how we're cooking it in the video, go ahead and put that in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes. For the last 5 minutes, go ahead and put the broiler on so you can get that nice crust on your bread. Now that we have everything together, let's get cooking. We're going to start with a hot pan. Go in with our 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. A big part of the flavor in this dish is the shrimp, so we want to be able to get that nice caramelization. Now that the butter's singing, we're going to throw the shrimp in. We're going to give the shrimp a little bit of seasoning. Like I said, we're building flavors, so we're just going to do a little bit of the white pepper and a little bit of that salt. We want to get a good surface area on this shrimp as well. That way we can get as much caramelization as possible on this shrimp. That right there is looking perfect, so we're going to go put that off to the side. Now we're going to come in with our other 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. This is for our garlic, so once that butter's singing, throw the garlic in. We're going to get a nice sweat on the garlic. And again, we are building flavors here, so a little bit of that salt and a little bit of that white pepper. Now that the garlic's nice and sweated, we can throw our heavy cream in. And we want to get all that creamy goodness in there. Now, once that's in, we want to get our fat incorporated with our cream. Then once we have that incorporated with our cream, we can go ahead and bring this up to a simmer. Now, once you start seeing this little froth right there, that means you're starting to reduce. And you can also see as I move my spatula around in there, it's already starting to get thicker. Once we have reduced a quarter of the liquid, we are ready to strain. Now we're going to use a fine mesh strainer here. If you don't have one, you can line a strainer with cheesecloth. Set your garlic aside for the garlic bread. Get your pasta boiling because we're going to need that pasta water here in a moment. We're going to go back to the pan with our cream. As you can see, we have a nice clean sauce here. We want to heat it up just enough to melt this cheese. And you can see almost instantly once I start incorporating that cheese that it gets the sauce nice and creamy, a beautiful texture. So we're already on a good path. And if you want to know you're on the good path with your texture, go ahead and dip the back of the spoon in, wipe your finger across it, and if you have a defined line, you have yourself a great texture for your sauce. We're going to taste, and this is for reference because we're about to make that stock I was talking about. In a small saucepan, put all your shells in there, get it cranked up on a high heat. We're going to go grab some of our pasta water, about 4 to 5 tablespoons, and we're going to add that to the shrimp. Now this pasta water has salt in it, so I'm just adding a little bit of white pepper. And we're going to bring that to a boil. Now once those are all pink, they're pretty well cooked. Let that do it for 2 minutes. And we're going to give it a taste. And this is tasting nice and shrimpy. And now we can strain it. And we can bring our sauce back to the pan. And as you can see, it thickened as it sat, which is not a problem. That's why we made our shrimp stock with the pasta water. So we're going to go in with a little bit of that stock at a time. I did about 2 tablespoons right there, and we're going to give it a mix in and get it nice and incorporated. If you're not using the shrimp stock here, you can just use the pasta water. And we're going to bring the heat back up just a little bit so we can get an accurate taste, test our consistency, and then we're going to give it a taste. Now this needed a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper. You might find that you don't use all the seasonings that we have measured out, but if you exceed the measurements that we have measured out, you are going to oversalt your dish. Now that this is done, we can go ahead and throw that pasta in and get that pasta nice and incorporated. Now, as this sits, it is going to thicken. And while this sits, we're going to make some garlic bread. So take your seasoning and your butter, put those together and microwave for about 20 to 30 seconds. After you're done doing that, go ahead and give a mix. And we're going to go ahead and grab that garlic that we set aside earlier. And we're going to give that a smash. And we're going to pretty much turn this into a paste, and that's going to get incorporated with our butter and seasoning mixture. And now bring it to the bread and give the bread a little wash down with it. After you're done doing that, we can go ahead and come to our hot pan. Now we want to get these nice and golden brown. You're going to hear the crunch here in a minute. These are looking beautiful, very nice, and we are ready to plate. So we're going to liven our fettuccine back up. We're going to grab our plate and give it a nice little swirl, a pile. You don't have to be fancy. I like to be fancy sometimes. You can throw it on if you want. I'm going to top it with shrimp. I just like it that way. If you don't want to top it with shrimp, you can mix it in. We're going to hit it with this parsley. And then we're going to cut our garlic bread, listening to that nice crunch. Throw that garlic bread on the plate, and you got yourself a meal. You can have some side salad with this, or my personal favorite, some broccoli, however you want to do it. Thanks for joining me on this cook, everybody. Until the next time. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe if you are loving the content, and can't wait to see you on the next cook.